Well, we think there are four, as you say, enablers or lenses that if you look through, if they inform how you go about things, then that enables you to further engage your people. And the first one is, do our people have a real sense of where we're going, where we've come from as an organisation, where we are and what we aspire to be in the future? Is there a sense that they own this, they understand it, they've worked it together, they've workshopped it? Is there a sense of how their role fits in to this aspiration that the whole organisation is sharing, because they've had a hand in delivering it, a hand in developing it? And of course some things are given, the kind of organisation we want to be, some of these things are handed down, but there's a lot of space between those things for us to get involved with, and there's certainly an enormous space for how we're going to go about implementing these things. And the more we involve people, the more they can relate their own futures and what they want out of their working lives to the aspiration of the organisation. The more these things come together, the more this is owned and we have a real stake in what we're trying to do and our contribution to creating a future that we'd all be proud of and own. The second thing that we found that tends to be there in organisations, we all have a boss. Whether we're the COO reporting the CEO or we're the most junior, youngest person in, we have somebody that we work for. And these managers can be engaging or not. Interestingly, there was a study from America saying 62% of all employees would prefer a new boss to a pay rise. Well, what are the 38% doing that actually people are happy with? And essentially they're doing three things. The first thing is they're sitting down with us and they're really working out with us and discussing what success would look like in our role. And if we're new and junior, it's probably the next month or two. And if we've been around a long time and are more senior, maybe it's over the next year or two, or maybe 5 or 10 years. But we really work out what success would look like for our various stakeholders. Then we give people a bit of scope to bring themselves to the role. We don't then tell them exactly in a rote way exactly how to deliver this. They think about it. They involve themselves in how they're going to achieve this. The second thing these managers do, they treat us all as human beings, as individuals, not as a human resource, not as employee 483, which diminishes my relationship with the organisation. And of course I do what you tell me to do by and large because I've got a mortgage. But when our back's turned, when the boss's back's turned, am I really being creative? Am I really giving wonderful customer service? Am I really thinking of new ways of doing things? Am I innovating? Am I owning? So the really, really good managers are ensuring that people have a real sense of being clocked for who they are, and that can be everything from childcare issues on a Thursday morning. Can I come later and stay later? It might be I want to push my career in a particular way, and the boss arranges for us to see these things, to try different functions and so on, or simply clock who I am and what I get out of bed for, so that we can work within that grain. The third thing that these managers tend to do is I'm constantly being coached by them. And there are really two senses to that. One is that when I do things well and when I put effort in, I'm acknowledged. I feel that what I've done is appreciated. I am thanked for what I do. But equally, we get the behaviours we walk past. So if I'm being dysfunctional in some way, then this is also addressed, not left for so long it becomes a huge, big emotional turmoil issue. It's something where in the natural course of events, we can say, these are things authentically that we think are being done well. And there's a couple of things that get in the way. And 9 times out of 10, when it's put in that more positive framework, people react positively to helpful feedback. But if you walk past someone, for instance, who is not pulling their weight and everybody knows it, and you're not seen to address it, and you're in a team of 10, you've just told the other 9 that their effort is absolutely optional, that you're happy for them to deliver whatever they're prepared to deliver. And that's not a helpful message. People need to feel that everyone's pulling their weight and being seen to pull their weight. So coaching, 9 times out of 10 through a positive reinforcing lens, and occasionally addressing behaviours that are dysfunctional. So we've got a vision of where we're trying to go to as an organisation. I feel a part of it. I feel inspired by it. It relates to me. I feel that my boss is basically managing me well and clocks me for who I am. But what about my voice? Does my voice really count in this organisation? So employee voice is the third thing that these organisations put in place. Now, whether that voice comes through with or without unions, whether it comes formally or it comes informally, whether it's through social media or through its workshop, I am heard. If you want to diminish someone, ignore them. If you want to harness, if you powerfully believe that it's people, all our people who are going to achieve the success we're looking for, you need all their voices for how to improve customer service, how to innovate, how to serve the citizen better if we're in the public sector, how to find more efficient ways of doing things, then we need to hear those voices. And incidentally, it's the cheapest smoke alarm you can have. If voice carries and there is a small problem somewhere, then that problem is addressed when it's small. If voice doesn't carry, then it's not addressed, and we can all think of some very, very high profile issues and things that have gone wrong in organisations, which had there been voice, they would have been caught much earlier, and that would avoid all the clearing up mechanisms that have to follow thereafter and all the expense and all the turmoil. The fourth thing that we found in organisations that really seem to be engaging their people is this. Most organisations have some values on the wall, typically 5 or 6. They also have some behaviours that are typical amongst the bosses and my colleagues. And the thought is, in a sense, quite simple. If the values on the wall overlap with the behaviours I observe, you get a sense of integrity or trust in the organisation. If the values on the wall seem to be different to the behaviours I observe, the gap between the two is essentially distrust. And if you work in a distrustful organisation, as I have done from time to time, then everything takes forever and there's never enough resource because we're always second guessing the motives behind things. If the two align, then you take things much more readily at face value. You question to understand, but you don't question the motive that lies behind it. So put as simply as possible, there's very little say-do gap in terms of the organisation. So these are simple but important thoughts or lenses that help organisations and help employees in organisations to feel more engaged and to own better. I know where we're going, I feel a stake in it, it's good, I have some pride in that. My manager is competent and clocks me for who I am. There is voice, my voice counts. It's not democracy, I don't always win it, but I'm heard. And there is a very little gap between what we say and what we do. There's a high sense of integrity and trust in the organisation. And when those 4 things are present, then typically there are higher levels of engagement and the organisation achieves what it's trying to achieve, and there's a higher sense of well-being amongst our employees.